Okay, so let's dive into something that on the surface usually sounds like a cure for insomnia: compliance.
Chuckles. Right. Not the most exciting topic.
Not usually, but before you skip ahead, the source material we're looking at today called it the architecture of global integrity.
That is a pretty bold claim for a technical standard.
It is. We're doing a deep dive into ISO 37301.2021. And if you think you know this stuff from the old ISO 19600, you really need to buckle up.
Oh, it's a completely different beast. It really is. The source material makes a hard distinction right out of the gate.
What's the core difference?
Well, the old 19600 was what they call a Type B standard. In, plain English, it was just a recommendation, a friendly guidebook.
Some good advice.
Exactly. But ISO 37301 is Type A. It's a requirement standard. That means it's certifiable, it's auditable, and it's binary. You either pass or you fail.
Wow, that is a massive shift. You go from here's a suggestion to here's the law, essentially.
Precisely. And that's what shifts compliance from being this boring administrative burden.
Into a strategic asset. The documents talk about measuring that with a maturity spectrum.
It's a 5-point scale. And most companies, frankly, are at level 1 or 2, ad hoc or reactive.
Which is just firefighting mode, right?
Pure firefighting. You're only dealing with compliance when a regulator is suddenly breathing down your neck or something's already blown up.
That sounds incredibly stressful and expensive.
It is. The goal of 37301 is to push you all the way to level 5, optimizing.
And at that level,
You're not just reacting anymore. You're actually using data to predict problems. Compliance is so deep in the culture that doing the right thing is just the default.
okay, but here's the part that really got me. To get to that level, you need this compliance obligations register.
Standard stuff, yeah.
It seems like it. You list laws, regulations, but the standard has this little twist, this catch about voluntary commitments.
Ah, yes. This is the trap for the unwary. The standard says your obligations include mandatory laws and any voluntary promises you decide to adopt.
So, let's say a company puts a really flashy code of ethics on its website, or signs an industry pledge for good PR.
To an ISO 37301 auditor, that is now the same as a law. If you publicly promise it, the auditor will come in and demand to see the system you have to track it and enforce it.
No way.
Yes. Your marketing team's promises and your compliance team's reality,
Yeah.
they can't be disconnected anymore.
That is a huge aha moment. It means your own mission statement can become a liability if you don't actually live by it.
Exactly right. And enforcing that reality brings us to the human element, specifically clauses 5 and 7. Leadership is a big one.
The old tone from the top.
It's more than buzzword here. The standard requires active, visible commitment. The CEO can't just sign a policy and then go play golf.
So what does visible actually look like in practice?
It's structural. The compliance function has to be independent. The compliance officer needs a direct line to the governing body, the board.
So they can bypass middle management.
Or even the CEO. If the CEO is the problem, that officer needs a clear, safe path to report it without getting fired.
Speaking of firing, or hiring, Clause 7 mentions employment due diligence. This felt a little aggressive.
It is, but it's logical. The sources argue you can't build an ethical culture if you keep hiring unethical people
So you have to vet people for compliance risk before they even start.
before they start. And once they're in, you need Clause 8. A really solid system for raising concerns.
Whistleblowing.
Yes, but it's even broader. It has to be confidential, protect against retaliation, and this is key. It can't just be for employees.
Oh, who else?
Suppliers, third parties, basically anyone in your ecosystem. You need eyes and ears everywhere.
Okay, so you have the leadership, the vetting, the hotline. What happens when the auditor shows up? The sources talk about the teeth of the certification.
This is where it all comes together. If an auditor finds a systemic failure, a big one, it gets labeled a major nonconformity.
And that's a showstopper.
Complete stop. No certification for you. And you can't just slap a Band-Aid on it either.
What do you have to do?
You have to use Clause 10, perform a full root cause analysis. You have to prove you found out why it failed and that you fixed the source, not just the symptom.
So when you pull it all together, it seems like ISO 37301 is basically trying to standardize trust.
That's the architecture of global integrity right there. In a global market, saying, just trust me, isn't good enough anymore. This standard lets you say, here's the verified proof that I am trustworthy.
It turns integrity from just a feeling into a verifiable process.
Just don't forget that voluntary catch.
That is the one thing that's going to stick with me. It leads to a really tough question for anyone listening who runs a company. The standard says your voluntary codes, your promises, are as binding as laws once you adopt them. So if your organization claims it values integrity but has no real system to track those promises, are you actually compliant? Or are you just lucky you haven't been caught yet?
That's a very expensive question to get wrong.
Thanks for diving in with us.